hours for them to save us. 12 hours most of the time. 12 hours holding the handle shut to the safe room as we waited for help. No help came. Some Israelis called for help and then waited, as I said, 20 hours hiding in bushes. One person cast himself into a cactus bush and suffered all the pain there, and others in dumpsters, others pretending to be dead, all the while desperately calling for help. No help came. And those Israelis said that they had confidence in the army, and they had confidence in the police as they waited. But when no help came on October 7th, those Israelis experienced the verse 3, shame. The strength of the Israeli army was their shame. They were ashamed at how the Israel Defense Force and the police abandoned them in their deepest need. And on October 7th, those Israelis in the south experienced the verse 3, confusion. They waited for 30 minutes. They waited for 1 hour. They waited for 2 hours, 5 hours, 10 hours, 20 hours for help to come, and no help came. They experienced the verse 3, confusion. We are confused. We don't understand why the IDF has not come to save us. We're confused. We don't understand why the police has not come to save us. And another shade of the meaning in the Hebrew word klima, which is translated as confusion in verse 3, is the word humiliation. In October 7th, those Israelis in the south experienced the humiliation as no help came to save us from the humiliation of babies and grandmothers being murdered in their beds. No help came to save them from the humiliation of the brutal rapes of their women. No help came to save them from the humiliation of their babies being decapitated in the cribs. No help came to save them from the humiliation of the mutilation of their bodies, of their loved ones, as their bodies were left. And when those came with the body bags for the bodies, there were no bodies, there were body parts that they collected. Humiliation. And October 7th, those Israelis in the south experienced the verse 5, could not profit, nor be a help, nor profit, but a shame, and also a reproach. Why? Because the IDF and the police did not come, and those Hamas terrorists had a complete free rein to do what they wanted unhindered. They were so surprised that Hamas was so unhindered that the butchers had all the time in the world to murder, butcher, decapitate, rape, and casually roll back into Gaza with hundreds of hostages with no resistance. And when that happened, Israel experienced the verse 5, IDF could not profit them, nor be a help. And as Hamas taunted Israel with it, where is your IDF? Israel experienced in verse 5 shame for their IDF, and verse 5, the IDF became a reproach. And on October 7th, as Israelis in the south called for help, and the IDF and the police didn't come, they experienced verse 7, help in vain and to no purpose. And as those Israelis in the south used their cell phones, use the cords of their telephones and vacuum cleaner poles to try to hold shut the doors on their safe rooms, they thought to themselves, just a little bit longer, we got to hold this door just a little bit longer, and no help came. Those Israelis in the south put their babies in the drawers to try to keep their cries from being heard, and they thought, it's just temporary. Soon the IDF's going to come. They're going to rescue us. No help came. And in the south, they heard Arabic language outside around the neighbors' houses, then inside their own houses. And then they heard the shots, and they thought, I know the IDF is coming right away. No IDF came. And as all that happened, in the final moments before they heard the shots and explosions that killed them, those Israelis experienced the verse 7, help in vain and to no purpose. What happened on October 7th was a repeat of what happened when not Hamas, but the Assyrians came to murder them, which is this whole subject of Isaiah chapter 30. And God saw that the Assyrians were going to do when Israel refused to seek God for help and get under the Psalm 91 shadow of the Almighty, but instead Israel decided in verse 3 to trust in the shadow of Egypt. And 1 month before the October 7th Hamas massacre, every house in the south of Israel received a hand-delivered copy of the book Change. And that book Change encouraged all the residents of the south of Israel, come under the shadow of Jehovah Jesus, trust him for safety. And God saw what Hamas was going to do in the south on October 7th. We didn't see that. God saw that. And when Israel refused to seek Jehovah Jesus their safety, God was seeing all the horrors of the Assyrian invasion in chapter 30, and as God saw all the horrors of the Hamas invasion on October 7th, God did not just speak calmly to Israel. God was in verse 7, therefore have I cried concerning this. God says that he cried out to Israel with a voice of passion in verse 7. God says that he cried out to Israel with a voice like a mother who desperately is crying out for her child. God cried out for Israel as Jesus cried out in John 7:37. John 7:37, in that last day, that great day of the feast, Jesus stood and cried, saying, if any man thirst, let him come unto me and drink. God cried out as Jesus cried out in Luke 13:34. Luke 13:34. O Jerusalem, Jerusalem, which killest the prophets and stonest them that are sent unto thee. How often would I have gathered thy children together as a hen doth gather her brood under her wings, and you would not. God cried out for Israel as Jesus cried out in Luke 19:41. Luke 19:41, when he was come over near, he beheld the city and wept over it, saying, if thou hadst known, even thou, at least in this thy day, the things which belong to thy peace, but now they are hid from thine eyes. For the day shall come upon thee, that thine enemies shall cast a trench about thee, compass thee round about, keep thee on every side. They shall lay thee even with the ground, thy children within thee. They shall not leave in thee one stone upon another, because thou knewest not the time of thy visitation. When that book was distributed, when that book Change was distributed, that was God visiting the people. And instead, women took the books and made bonfires in the streets. It filled bins of trash because they didn't know that was the time of God's visitation. And when God cried out to Israel in verse 7, God was saying, look out, read that book that was hand-delivered to all of your houses. Don't put your hope and trust in the IDF to save you. Put your hope and trust in Jehovah Jesus to save you, because Jeremiah 17:5, thus saith the Lord, cursed be the man that trusteth in man, and maketh flesh his arm, and whose heart departeth from the Lord. Jeremiah 17:7, blessed is the man that trusteth in the Lord, and whose hope the Lord is. And as Israel felt so weak, they saw the Assyrians getting ready to invade them. And as Israel felt so weak on October 7th, and they were huddled in their hiding places, weak Israel in Israel's day looked to Egypt for strength, and Egypt failed Israel. Weak Israel on October 7th looked to the IDF for strength, and the IDF failed Israel. And God's cry to Israel in verse 7 was that their strength was not from Egypt. And God's cry to Israel in verse 7 was that their strength was not from the IDF. God's cry to Israel is that Israel has no strength from Egypt. God's cry to Israel is that Israel has no strength from the IDF. God's cry to Israel is where their true strength lies, which is verse 7. Therefore have I cried concerning this. Their strength is to sit still. Their strength is to sit still. Means that the strength of Israel lies in the confidence that enables Israel to sit still. And that confidence is verse 15. In quietness and in confidence shall be your strength. What is the confidence that produces this type of rest and this type of quietness? This is the confidence of faith. This is the confidence of faith. This faith is described in 1 John 5:4. 1 John 5:4. Whosoever is born of God overcometh the world. And this is the victory that overcometh the world, even our faith. Who is he that overcometh the world, but he that believeth that Jesus is the Son of God? This is a faith that overcomes Egypt. It's a faith that overcomes Hamas. It's not a vague faith in saying, I have faith in God. No, that's not a vague message of 1 John 5:5. The message of 1 John 5:5 is the faith of 1 John 5:5. He that believeth that Jesus is the Son of God. That's a specific belief. 1 John 5:5, that Jesus is the Son of God. Or put another way, that Jesus is God the Son. This is the essential message of the Bible. This is the essential message of the book Changed, that Jesus is God the Son. That book Changed was God's final call to the Jewish people in the South to put their hope and trust in Jehovah Jesus to protect them from Hamas. That book Changed put the question to the Jewish people in the south of Israel. Will you believe that Jehovah is Jesus? That was the question on the table. That was the question that I was asked in my final interview with the Jewish agency in Jerusalem when I attempted to become an Israeli citizen. Do you believe, they said, do you believe that Jesus is the Son of God? Do you believe that Jesus is God? That was the question. When the Jewish agency in Jerusalem asked me that question, they were asking me, do you believe 1 John 5:5? Do you believe 1 John 5:5, he that believeth that Jesus is the Son of God? And based on the fact that I do believe 1 John 5:5, that Jesus is the Son of God, the Jewish agency ruled that I was not Jewish. I was not Jewish. I went to a school in Switzerland where I was only one of 2 Jews. I was beat up because I was a Jew. And now I hear from them, you're not a Jew. 1 John 5:5, believe it that Jesus is the Son of God, is a specific faith that overcomes the world.
Tom Cantor's messages can be listened to and downloaded for free at friendshipwithgod.org. For other free resources, email us at tomcantor